Good afternoon. It is March the 5th, 2020, and today I would like to delve into the chart of Joe Biden. It is a chart that I've held off dissecting simply for actually two or three reasons. First of all, a year ago, I told two of my closest friends that I felt Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. At that time, there were 20 contenders, and he looked, yes, in the lead, but frail, not finding his footing and kind of resting on his background as vice president. But Joe Biden and I, being born exactly 4 days apart, and both having lost two children, one was my stepson and the other my daughter, he having lost his daughter and his beloved same-sex son at age 46, just as I lost my same-sex daughter at age 46. I understand the soul of this man. I understand the depth of what he's overcome, and I understand his profound capacity to remain optimistic in the face of so much loss. Joe Biden is not a materialist. He has never been driven by money. He's never been known for amassing a lot of money. He's lived a more life attached to the common man, and has ridden back and forth on his train every day, has spoken to everybody in sight, relates to whomever, and is known for 40 years for having dispensed a lot of love and kindness to people that no one even knows about. He was even criticized for hugging and touching people too much, but we have to understand this man has the chart of a healer, of an empath. It's nothing of an obscene tendency to want to hold and love and hug and touch. It's just part of who he is. I'm a healer. I love to touch people, especially when I feel people suffering. It's my first instinct is to put my hands on them. When I watched him on Saturday with Pete Buttigieg, telling him how much he reminded him of his own beloved beau, and putting his hand on his shoulders and giving him a good squeeze, that's just who he is. He is somebody that gives a lot of hope to the room, a lot of love to the room, and really in his heart of hearts, if whoever would be suffering in the Senate, in his life, in his family, amongst his friends, amongst strangers, he would just simply be there to help. His chart has 6 water signs, the chart of the giver, the healer, the empath. His sun is in Scorpio, his Mercury is in Scorpio, his Venus is in Scorpio, his Mars is in Scorpio, his Jupiter is in Cancer. 5 water signs. And those are all sitting in the house, with the exception of Jupiter, which is sitting in his 8th house. Those are all sitting in his house of Pisces. So they're all behind the scenes. So as much as he may seem out there with his gaffes or with his kind of overblown, slightly inaccurate comments at times, he has this wonderful Sagittarius rising, which gives him an exuberance and a capability to exaggerate a little bit, or to be, it's a fire. So it's bringing joyous, loving hope in the face of all the death that he had to go through. So Joe Biden basically is what the country has been needing. when you look at the chart of the United States, when you feel the journey of the United States, basically we have always chosen a president that was the polar opposite of the president that is presently in power. So before Donald Trump, we had somebody very brilliant, disciplined, not showing as much emotion, more professorial, definitely a man of great capabilities and talents, but definitely somebody that has the capability to accomplish a lot in a short period of time and to keep his house in order. From there, we moved to a place of Donald Trump, who is a man that does things off the cuff, spur of the moment, lacking discipline, definitely not an intellectual, and extremely emotional, with a lot of vicissitudes to his emotion, up, down, and completely lacking empathy, completely in the self-absorbed state, whereas President Obama, with his Aquarius rising, his whole focus was on the common good, on the diversity of being, and his greatest prayer had always been that he would bring unity, and his greatest disappointment was that there was never a greater polarity in our presidency than under his jurisdiction. So it was sad for him. It was heartbreaking for him that he couldn't bring about that movement across the aisle, the racism and the nature of the polarity of belief systems just did not allow for that respect and that mutual sort of loving cooperation. Now we have somebody like Joe Biden coming forth, who is the antithesis of Trump. Trump is air. He is Gemini. He is prone to frivolity. He's prone to not being a deep thinker. But yet with his Cancer planets, he has a lot of natural gut level intuition of how to play the crowd, how to manipulate that Cancer Mercury that he has. He can feel where his crowd is that night and move with them and bring them along with him. He's very brilliant at that. Joe Biden has also a Mercury in water, but it's in Scorpio, so his Mercury is deeper, more profound, going to the heart of the matter. Joe Biden would be somebody, some people say he's not an intellectual thinker, but I think myself that he's got incredible intuition of what is required. So his brilliance comes more through being capable to hone in on the essence of what is needed. And many are now, it's funny because, I looked at his chart, and of course it's the chart of the empathic healer. So his role, the reason I felt that he would be president, that he would be the chosen Democratic representative running against Donald Trump, was because the country is in a state of exhaustion, fatigue, traumatized, lost their way, feeling no one's listening, and feeling terrified, in a state of fear. So who do we go to when we are in this desolate, lonely place of not knowing how to get out of a morass of suffering, and looking all around us and seeing that discordant behavior and the anger? Just 1 second, we always have that happen. Bingo, come here please. I don't want that, Johnny. Come here. Come to Mama. Bingo, come. Bingo, come. Go lie down, please. Be a good boy. Go lie down. Be a good boy. It never goes without fail that we get one of the dogs in here. It's just part of what goes with the territory here. So it's only natural that what would you do personally if you're feeling isolated, alone, fearful? You would seek out a healer of some sort. You would seek out a compassionate listener. You would seek out the heart. This is what's missing right now, the heart. So people can say that we vote for the issues, but really at this time, what I feel, people make emotional choices in the ballot box. They may have it all set, I'm going to vote for so-and-so, but when they actually get in there, they vote for, their heart leads them, pushes at them. And lots of times that's why you'll see somebody win that you're shocked. And Trump, he felt the vulnerability of the Rust Belt, and rather than soothing them, he stirred them up and said, I'll be there for you, and then wasn't. Joe Biden, they've known him for 40 years in those areas. And when he's gone in there, he's always cared. And this is why people are coming out of the woodwork. Everyone thought, how could he possibly win all those states last week when he didn't even go to some of them? And some of them he spent $1,000 ad. And it was kind of like rising out of the ashes, which is so Scorpionic. His own immolation of his own campaign. And then he got the endorsement of Clyburn, that beautiful, beautiful endorsement of, you could feel the love between the two men. And you thought, oh my gosh, he's known him and he loves him, genuinely loves Joe Biden. And this is what is happening, is that the people are coming forth. Like Amy Klobuchar was interviewed last night, and she goes, I just was on that stage with him all those times, and I never had any disagreement with him. I never felt any animosity come off him. So even when the fire of his Sagittarius rising gets up there and gets bombastic, underneath it all, we feel his heart. We look into his eyes and we see the emotion of the eyes, and we feel his heart reach across. And that is what has drawn all these people to him, why Pete Buttigieg was so attracted to him. He felt the father energy. And right now in the country, I do feel within 4 years, because I think that Joe Biden, if he wins the presidency, and I will do another reading on that, he will not stay longer than 4 years. And I feel that the next election will be a young, vibrant male or female of great energy and zest and idealism. But right now, we're longing for a healer. We're longing for the elder statesman to walk into the climate accord and say, yes, we care about climate change, and I'm here to hold my head up and represent my country and show the caring and the friendship amongst all of us. Because that's how he enters the room. His heart enters the room first. He's not thinking how to outfox someone or how to out-yell somebody. So all these people that say, well, we need somebody tough to get up there and yell on the stage with him. No. We need someone to get up there and say, America, I know you're better than this. Feel the heart of America. Feel your own heart. Feel what is missing right now, what we need to restore, and how we need to heal, how we feel toward each other. He represents that. His Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is where we're blessed in our chart. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So it's a wonderful placement for him to have Jupiter in Cancer, sitting on the Cancer Sun and the Cancer Mercury and the Cancer Venus of the United States of America. So he feels, he is literally a blessing to the country. If you have your Jupiter on somebody else's sun, and here he has it on the sun of the United States, you are bringing a blessing to the country. So it's very wonderful. The other thing that is lovely about his chart is his Saturn being in Gemini. His karma in this lifetime has a lot to do with learning how to speak. And it's interesting that he started out stuttering and had a terrible time putting words and sentences together as a child, and was incredibly shy and self-conscious about that. So you'll notice that sometimes his words, he seems to repeat a phrase. That is very symbolic of the Saturn in Gemini. It took me a long time, having the same chart, to say that I could come out in front of people and talk like I am right now. I was very shy and sort of in the background, as far as I love to just be with the animals, but not really. I was offered in my 40s an opportunity to become, he wanted to make me this newspaper in Los Angeles, the next Marianne Williamson, and I said, I don't see myself in that role. I see myself as a person one-on-one. Just so even when I'm talking here to all of you, I'm talking to that one person looking at the video. I'm not visualizing masses of people. Well, Joe, when he talks, he's talking to one-on-one, because it's a heart connection that he's making. So it's interesting that Saturn in Gemini, how we're kind of late bloomers in our communication aspect of life. Whereas my daughter, just Jupiter in Leo, she was right out there dancing, rocking it at age 4 on the stage as a ballerina. You know, it's such a different feeling of energy. The other thing is that as the election rolls around, it will be November the 3rd. And so Joe's Sun and Venus and Mercury and Mars, the Mars will actually be right on the Sun on the day of voting. That should be very, very helpful to him. He's got also, I think we really, truly need to remember that right now, our encouragement to him, or our prayers for him, are that he doesn't try to be Obama, President Obama, and with the cleverness and the erudite, exquisite speeches. Just be Joe. Just speak from your heart. Because with all that water, really, it's about authenticity, it's about integrity, it's about kindness, it's about listening. And most of all, and many people said it, that when they sat in a room with Joe, even when he wasn't talking, even when he was just sitting there listening, for example, in some of the shooting incidences that he showed up for at the funerals, they said they felt healed just having him sitting in the room with them. So a lot of his reaching the audience of the heart of the United States will come just through his sheer presence. So you might not see him with massive crowds. He's not the massive crowd guy. He's the guy that will go to the outreach in Pennsylvania and sit in the coffee shop and shoot the breeze with people and really ask, how's your family? How are they doing? I had remember Amy Klobuchar saying yesterday that when she first went into the Senate, she was giving a speech, and it was late at night, and there was nobody in the Senate floor. And she said, I thought only my mother was watching. And she said, sure enough, later on, she got a phone call, and it was from Joe, and he said, listen, hon, you did a great job tonight. Your speech was fantastic. Keep it up. And she was so touched. She said, that, more than anything, made me want to bring my votes over to Joe, because he understood, you know, in that moment, how insecure I was feeling and how I felt like nobody was listening. And Joe was there. Joe got who she was. And that's basically what Reverend Clyburn said. He said, Joe knows you. And that's a pretty beautiful thing. When we sit with someone, don't we feel great when somebody knows us? And I listened to a video yesterday by an astrologer, and with all the reasons he thought Joe Biden wouldn't win the election. And I wrote on his page, you know, to have survived the death of your wife, your beloved wife, your daughter, and then many years later, your most beloved child, who was your guiding light in a way, and I feel Bo's really helping him. And to go through the depths of that despair and grief, which only somebody that's lost a child and a beloved mate can know what that's about. There's nothing in the world compared to losing a child, in my experience. Although I've lost some great mates, and of course losing animals. I say I love the animals to the same degree. And then to come back out of that morass of suffering and to be still the optimist with that winsome smile, or that broad smile that covers his whole face, and to feel the heart and the caring that he's actually allowed this suffering to make him a better man. I feel this is why he's touching the hearts of people, because it's real. His overcoming is real. His experience of I gotta get this darn thing fixed. I don't know why it does it. His overcoming of the death process and the sadness that he went through, back to smiling and going for it, and he kept keeping the promise to his son. This is really quite remarkable. Not quite sure why that went on. But anyway, it's bright now, and I gotta fix this darn thing. So let me turn it off and see if I can turn it on. It doesn't do that. Nope, it's still doing it, so we'll leave it. So anyway, I think that's a really good place to end the video. It's just with the message, no matter who you choose, if Bernie's your guy, keep your heart open and go for it with your heart. If Joe's really touching your soul, follow it through and help him. Because he's going to do a good job. And I had a dream the other night. And in the dream, I really listened to my dreams, because my girl comes to me then. And she said, you know, Mom, if he makes it through to be president, he could be one of the most loved presidents that has ever ascended to that position. She said he would really become like Joe the Beloved. And I thought that was beautiful. So I wanted to share that. Don't forget to like the video and to share it on your page on Facebook if you feel like it, and to subscribe if you're a new viewer. Thank you. God bless you, and let's all heal no matter who it is. Let's all be there for each other. Thank you. God be with you.